Hi, welcome to another episode of Tom's Kitchen. Today is the final episode for 2020, and I'm going to share with you a recipe of one of my favorite childhood dishes, which is a chicken fricassee. As you may have known, my mother is from German descent, so obviously the recipe has that kind of German kick to it. Now, one of the key ingredients for the German fricassee is to really have a good chicken stock. So yes, you can buy chicken stock in the supermarket, the pre-made versions of them, but I really like to make my own. So I'm going to start off the recipe by making my own chicken stock, and then once you have that in place, really kind of creating the dish takes about 15 to 20 minutes. It's very fast and very yummy. So without further ado, let's go.
The origins of the fricassee can be traced back to Mesopotamia, back to the 16th century, where a recipe was found in one of the Babylonian tablets. As I just mentioned, I like to make my own chicken stock or broth, but if I were to use a store-bought brand, I would use the butcher's chicken bone broth. In the regular recipe, you would use regular flour for the roux, but I chose to use almond flour. You can also use a keto wheat flour or a creamy chicken soup meal replacement. Okay, let's get down to it. Let's start with the chicken broth or stock. The ingredients for the chicken broth include 1 pound of skinless chicken. I chose to use 6 chicken thighs, 1 large carrot, 1 large onion, 1 large leek, 1 stick of celery, 2 teaspoons of salt, and 2 teaspoons of pepper. To prepare the stock, take a large pot, add about 8 cups of water and the salt and the pepper. Bring it to a boil and then add the chicken and all the vegetables. Then boil them at medium heat for about 45 minutes, removing any foam that builds up on top. When the time is up, remove the chicken and set aside to cool, and strain the broth and discard all the vegetables. Once the chicken has cooled, remove the chicken meat from the bones and divide into 4 portions. Store and freeze 3 of them for future use. Next, set aside about 1 cup of the chicken broth for the chicken fricassee. The rest you can freeze for future use. Now that I have my broth, here are the ingredients you actually need to make the dish. You will need 6 ounces of cooked chicken. I'm going to use the chicken that I boiled. 1 cup of the chicken broth, 1 small chopped onion, 5 sliced white mushrooms, 1/4 cup of frozen peas, 2 tablespoons of a butter substitute, 1/2 cup of a choice of flour, juice of 1 squeezed lime, 1 tablespoon of capers, 2 tablespoons of the brine of the capers, 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, and salt and pepper to taste. Okay, it's time to start cooking this delicious dish. Start by heating the 1 tablespoon of olive oil in a deep skillet. Add the chopped onions and saute them for a couple of minutes. Add the sliced mushrooms and the peas and mix them well with the onions. Saute until the onions are translucent and the mushrooms are fully cooked. You may need to add a couple tablespoons of water if the mixture gets too dry. Remove the onions and mushrooms from the pan and set aside. Then in the same pan, increase the heat and add and melt the butter substitute. When melted, add your choice of flour and mix very well with the butter until a brownish paste is formed. Now add the 1 cup of chicken broth and stir very well until you have a homogeneous sauce. Add the capers, the caper brine, and the juice of 1 lime and stir very well. Add the chicken, the peas, the onions, and the mushrooms you had set aside. Mix very well, bring it to a brief boil, and then reduce the heat to medium and let it simmer for about 5 minutes. That's it, the chicken fricassee is done. I like to serve it over a bed of rice cauliflower. Now, if you don't care about the carbs, go ahead and serve it over rice.
So what do you think? You're going to give this recipe a try? Well, the original one is really a recipe that goes with regular rice. Obviously, I am on a weight management program, so I've replaced the rice with rice cauliflower. It's the same as good, so give it a try. So this wraps up all my episodes for 2020. I wish you all the best for the new year, and I'll see you next year. Take care. Bye-bye.